You are listening to the Navigating Adult ADHD podcast with your ADHD coach and expert, Zena. Hello, my friend. You know when you meet somebody for the first time and you just hit it off? Especially when it's a fellow ADHDer, right? Like one of us who just gets it. And we skip the small talk. We skip, the weather and all of that sort of shit. And we just dive straight in and you love it. That is my experience of meeting Callum for the very first time. Now, I actually connected with Callum a couple of years back when he did some webinars with ADHD New Zealand. And I watched one of these in preparation to doing my own webinars with them. And I just loved his down-to-earth style and approach. And he had this like crazy wild backdrop with all of these beautiful lush green plants. And he used a lot of stories to describe things. And I was like, yeah, you're really speaking my language. And so I did my research on him and I connected with him to invite him here onto the podcast. And we just hit it off. Or at least I think we did. I think he would agree. So I am so excited to share this conversation with you because it was one of those conversations where we went in so many different directions, talking about so many different ADHD related experiences, especially in the workplace, and so many things that I know you are going to relate to. So Callum McKirdy, let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a speaker, author, facilitator, and coach, and he specializes in workplace dynamics and behavior. Okay, and he has spent the past 25 years assisting leaders and teams to make the best use of their uniqueness, both individually and collectively. Now, he is proudly dyslexic and ADHD positive, and you're going to learn what ADHD positive means. That's something that we talk about in the episode. And Callum champions organizations to really think differently about different thinking. He challenges leaders and their teams to really harness their own differences so that they can be better together, whatever that means to them. Okay? So he is just a wealth of experience and knowledge, personally, professionally, and I am so excited to share this incredible conversation that we had. All right, my friend, enjoy. Hello, my sparkly brain friends. Welcome back to Navigating Adult ADHD, where today I am so excited. I have to say, I've been really looking forward to this conversation. Today, we are joined by my new friend, Callum, and I'm going to do a beautiful intro and tell you all about Callum. You would have already heard that if you've pushed play. But I just want to say thank you, Callum, for coming today, and welcome to Navigating Adult ADHD.
Thank you. Kia ora. Thanks for having me, Zena. You just mentioned the word adult, and I suddenly thought, I don't feel like much of an adult. So we'll see how this conversation goes.
I so relate to that. Like, at what stage did we graduate into this adulthood? And sometimes I wonder, can I unsubscribe from that?
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't it be useful to be able to just go, yeah, not today.
Right.
Because we've kind of trained the child out of ourselves I think as we mature anyway and get sort of professional, whatever that means, that sort of, I was going to say childish, but it's more childlike playfulness.
Playful, yeah.
It's sort of conditioned out of us. And I'd love to go back to that. And I think a lot of people with ADHD, so that really resonates or you can relate to that because it's not because we've been made to feel childish. I think it's more that we actually just love play and curiosity and feel like we're not allowed. We don't have permission to do that as well.
Yes, I agree. It's like this pressure and this kind of, you don't have time for that or that's not something you should be doing. But I think it's so useful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that made me, like before I was diagnosed, I didn't quite understand why people didn't get my sense of fun in the workplace. Like I was a bit of a joker. Like I was never the social club person, but I was like in meetings, like I always sort of hammed things up a little bit, but tried to just take the edge off the
Yes.
formalities of things.
Yes.
And a lot of people didn't get that. And I was like, what why are you so stiff? Like, why don't you just lighten up? It's just
Yeah.
work. And that's what I've
Yeah.
always regarded it. Like, it's just work. And as
Yeah.
we've talked about before, it's all completely made up.
Right.
So let's
Yeah.
just
Why
like,
not have some fun with it? Why not be a little more
yeah,
playful and
yeah, and
enjoy
just
it?
tinker around
Yeah.
the edges and go, actually, how can we do this differently rather than do this the way everybody does it? Because I think that's what an organization's point of difference is. Where can we like make the things we do, whether they're a service or a product or a whatever we're here for, how
Mm.
do we make that a little bit different while keeping it accessible or perhaps even making it more
And that's
accessible?
how you
Like,
stand out as a company, as a business, when
hmm,
you have a point of difference.
yep,
It's so
yeah,
funny. We go for a walk every morning, my partner and I, and we walked past. Somebody have just bought this house out on the beach there, and the vehicles in the driveway have sign writing there, and the sign written little image shows tiny pools. And I was thinking, so many companies make pools, right? Like they make
yeah,
pools, but their point of difference is tiny pools.
yeah,
And I was
awesome.
like, that's fucking cool.
That's
Like you can
brilliant.
be very creative with the tiny pool, but that's your point of difference. You don't
Yeah,
do big pools. You're not
yeah,
like, giant lap pools, whatever. You're tiny pools.
yeah, niche into that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we want a medium-sized pool. Yeah, sorry, we don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
Oh, okay, and that's
Yeah.
good because when you because I think as a business as well, and this is what a lot of people sort of shit themselves with is go, how do I, when we get into business, you do work for yourself or whatever you're doing, which a lot of people with ADHD do, is we go, I need to cater to as many people as possible. And actually, what
Yes.
you probably need to do is niche and strip out the opportunity to cater for everybody and cater for a very small number of people who actually is still probably a large client base because you can't
Yeah.
service everybody because you're
Yeah.
a one person band. Um, but to do that really, really well
Yeah.
and get known for that. Tiny pools, that's awesome.
It's cool, eh?
I love
I
it.
also
Yeah.
think that not only applies to business, but I think of it as like us and our circle of people, friends, what
Hmm.
have you. Like
Hmm.
the more we turn other people off, the more we turn on the people who are for us.
Great way of putting it.
Like I'm hugely dramatic. I wear bright colors. I'm obsessed with cats. Some people think I'm fucking crazy. And I'm like, oh, good. You're
And
not
and
my
and
people.
to some people you are. And that's
Exactly.
really useful because people get to go, I love crazy or I don't like crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
I
it's
either love
really
that or I
easy.
don't. Like you're
Yep.
for me or you're not. There's
Yep.
no like in the middle.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I've always so oh goodness, where do we go with this? So
I feel
many
like we should go back
things
to the beginning, but we can
to
keep
say.
going, right? let's
I know.
let's
Well, so
start
I'm
though.
49 and
Yes.
I was diagnosed when I was
Tell us.
44.
Okay.
And all my life, all I wanted to do was just to fit in, just to
Mm,
not get noticed. But always the struggle of going, why aren't I getting noticed? And it's like, it was this weird sort of internal conflict where I was like, I just didn't want to stand out, but I wanted to stand out for the things that were me, but I never quite understood what was me. And of course,
yeah.
went 44 years without knowing that I had ADHD. And, I've got a couple of other things as well, which I knew earlier, didn't know they were related, but it was just that weird last 5 years of trying to let go of the conditioning and the habits of fitting in. And I
Yeah.
catch myself, I was going to say every day, but I probably catch myself every 5 minutes where I'm doing things that feel a wee bit incongruent with who I now know I am and who I
Yes.
love myself to be,
Mm,
but go, oh, that's actually like their habits from when I was 30 or when I was in my
mm.
20s. And I just can't shake those things as
And I
well.
think a lot of that's safety. Like it's
Yep.
it's kind of instinctive as a built-in safety mechanism, right? But like you say, now that we're aware of it, and I'm the same, I'm constantly kind of like, oh, hang on a minute. Is that really who I am? Is that what I like? Is that what I want to do?
Yeah.
Do I agree with that? And
That's
pausing to think, which I think is cool. I think it's cool.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
fascinating.
I do that as well. And then and I think what you've just helped me clock, Zena, is I always thought that was me going, I don't know who I am. But actually what that
Yes.
is me being 100% me because I'm just like eternally curious. And so I'm allowed
Yes.
to ask questions of everything, but also I'm allowed to question myself,
Yes.
and we've I still think that we've, or at least I'll speak for myself, I think I've been conditioned that when I question myself, there's doubt there, and that
Yes.
means
And
that
that's a
I'm not
problem.
being who I am. Or
Mm.
yeah, it's a problem.
Mm.
No, it's not. It's me just going,
Yeah.
huh, is this because the me that I am now is different from the me that I was yesterday, slightly, because
Yeah.
yesterday and overnight has changed me a little bit.
Yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah.
so I get to be a bit fluid with that.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. So you were saying you were diagnosed at 44, you're now 49.
Hmm.
I would love to hear a little bit more about like the journey that you've been on, what led you to get diagnosed. You also mentioned there are a couple of other flavors potentially of neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Tell us all the things.
Okay. Um, well, I always knew that from primary school that I was dyslexic, and that sort of showed up quite prominently. I also have dyscalculia as well, like the numbers version of
Right.
dyslexia,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Were
and
you diagnosed for
that
those
wasn't
or
diagnosed for, not at school.
no?
No, that
Okay.
was that wasn't even known about. But I can remember we were I remember the day we were doing long division on the blackboard. Like this is the 80s. And the like I just switched off when it came to maths because I still don't know my times table. I have PTSD, I reckon, over this stupid
Yeah.
game Buzz, that we used to stand in a
Fair.
circle and have to do multiples of threes or fours or whatever, and I just never got it right. I was always first out, regardless of how far around the circle I was. Um, but I can remember, watching these numbers on these long division equations jumping from equation to equation on the blackboard, and thinking this is cool. Like maths is cool because the numbers move, and it turned out
Yeah.
that's not what maths was. Um, and, but so there was there, but also I can remember being, we had moved from, and I tell the story in some of the conference keynotes I do. Primary school, we had moved from sort of picture books that have like one or two lines that describe sort of a two-page spread, the picture, what's going on in the illustration there.
Yeah.
Moved into journals, and they had justified columns. And I can remember saying to my teacher, "These books are really cool. The way the column narrows in, and I have all this white space on either side of the column." And she was saying, well, "Callum, the page isn't actually doing that, or the text isn't doing that." Because and to this day, what I get is I see the start and the end of each line and a wee bit of stuff in the middle. I have to really
Right.
concentrate in order for things to stay still.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Well, we'll get your eyes tested and see what's going on there." And so we did, came back with 20/20 vision. I can remember her saying, "You've got perfect vision, Callum, so there's nothing we can do." And being that kid that just wanted to fit in, I was like, "All right, I'm just going to shut up about this." And so
Yeah.
I just kept quiet, tried to cope, but actually switched off. And courtesy
Mm.
of, my wonderful ADHD, which again still took another 30-ish years, 35 years to be diagnosed, it meant that I just drifted off and I looked, got distracted by stuff out the window and, the level of fluff on the carpet and all sorts of just
Yeah.
little things like that. But I also had a classmate who was diagnosed as dyslexic in this at the same time. He was taken out of class every day to like essentially just a cupboard, like the small little office, and he just declined. But he not only declined academically, he declined socially. And I thought, no,
Oh,
fuck that, I'm
wow.
not doing that. So I just didn't
Yeah.
really stick up my hand for anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then my brother was a policeman in the UK, decades later, and he had some really stressful cases. He was put off on some stress leave, and he saw a counselor and a psychologist, I think, and they both said, "Hey, we think you've got this thing called sequential dyslexia." Which I don't think is even a thing, and it certainly isn't really talked about here.
Mm.
And I said, "Mate, what are the symptoms of that?" And he just rattled off all these things. And I said, "Isn't that everybody?" And he was like, "Apparently not." And so that sort of sparked around sort of 43, 44. Sparked my, oh, I might do a wee search online and look at these things.
Yeah.
And it sort of led me down a path of getting diagnosed online, which was really, and I don't mean self-diagnosed, like I'd done all that, but I
Yeah.
talked to a psychiatrist, and
Did it
we
virtually.
did this virtual assessment, and
Yeah.
I just felt a bit icky about that because it seemed like it was a
Ah.
fast track to getting some medication, and that's
Yeah.
not necessarily what I was looking for. I was looking more for understanding,
Mm-hmm.
that seemed too easy, and I felt like I was kind of cheating the system because I think, with ADHD is we kind of feel a bit fraudulent sometimes anyway. And so I
Yeah.
felt they kind of deepened that, and I didn't like that. So I got this more thorough, holistic assessment done about 3 or 4 months later, which of course spent a lot of money on, came back with the same result, recommended the same medication, which I went on,
Yeah.
and but it gave me this sense of I now know, for
For
certain,
certain.
because two
Yeah.
people have told me, um, that I've got, so it's combined type ADHD.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
both hyperactive and inattentive. My hyperactivity more comes out in terms of me needing to use energy in sort of big sustained ways. Like I like going for big long runs in the hills or bike rides or just
Yeah.
out doing stuff until I'm a wee bit exhausted, and that kind of helps me process all the problems of the world.
Yeah.
But my inattentiveness or inattention is just just huge, and uh, it's frustrating, but also I know that's one of my superpowers because what I can, and I don't believe ADHD is a superpower, but I do
Yeah.
believe it affords us some quite extraordinary skills and
Yeah.
abilities and traits, etc. And one of mine is noticing how people show up and noticing people's energy.
Oh,
And I
yes.
don't think I don't, I mean, that's not unique to me. I'm not special. I just notice it. And what I do with that, and I think this is what a lot of ADHDers do, is rather than just sit with an ability to do something, we actually use that. And so when I'm working with people in workshops or speaking at conferences, what I notice, I talk about and I call it out. And for passive aggressive New Zealand, we're not used to that. People, I like identifying behavior at a table in a conference, that sort of thing from the stage. And
Yeah.
people are a wee bit, people are scared of that, but I don't do it in a way that's calling people out or bad behavior. I'm just noticing stuff that I like, and that means that we kind of gravitate to each other as well. And I just love using that energy.
Yeah.
Um, and but also like I try to be respectful in that because I can very quickly tell when people just need me to leave them alone. So I'm not going
Mm.
to sort of spotlight them as well.
Could you give an
And
example of that? Like, I'm curious
hmm,
how, like, if you were on stage, for example, like if somebody in the crowd wasn't perhaps responding well
hmm.
or resonating with what you were saying, what might you visually sort of see, pick up on, or say?
So you know how apparently public speaking is like one of one of people's greatest fears,
Oh, 100%.
and like I hated that as well, um, until I got it was probably 10 years ago. I just had some opportunities to talk in front of people, and
Mm.
I thought I'm actually loving this because I realized it's less about the content, the stuff you have to say, and more about the experience. And like, I don't know a lot of stuff. I don't hold facts in my head. I have,
I
the
wish I could.
working
Right.
memory of the pot plant behind you, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
um, and so all I can do is play with experience and how I make people feel, and also use how other people make me feel. And so when we're um, what a lot of people talk about with public speaking is we might fixate on the person who is playing with their phone or who is looking grumpy, but actually that might just be their listening face. Like they might have
Mm.
resting bitch face, and that could be
Hi,
the way
that's
they,
me.
yeah, well, that
Yeah.
could be the way they listen. And what we do
Yeah.
is we interpret that as I'm not good enough. And I I refuse to let myself be affected by that on stage. I'm affected by that all throughout the day, but when I get on stage, I don't know, something happens. And it's not a power and control thing because I don't believe there's like I've got a microphone, so I'm louder than people, but I don't think that there's any power imbalance there. And what
Mm.
I'll do if I do see people who look bored is I try to engage them or talk into that. And what invariably happens, and it's not about calling people out and saying, hey, you look bored, what's going on? You need to listen more. It's none of that at all.
Mm.
It's just me softly sort of bringing them in. And those people always come up to me afterwards and go, and 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 they always say things like, um, I was just engrossed in what you're saying. And I find that really fascinating because we interpret someone's way of listening as like we're
Mm.
looking for the negatives. And I think that's a real ADHD trait as well. Like
So
we expect people to not be happy with us.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and I think that comes probably back to the RSD. Like we're always looking for the reason why we could be criticized or rejected or where it might be happening.
And
But
imposter syndrome.
yeah, I like if I was to think about that being on stage as a speaker and say you saw somebody scrolling on their phone, the image that I have come to mind is maybe you say, if you know, if you're one of those people who struggles to pay attention and needs to do something to pay attention, don't be afraid to grab out your phone or your fidget item or whatever it is. If you're
Hmm.
scrolling right now as I'm saying this and that's your way of paying attention, I see
Hmm.
you. That's
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
Is that the kind
100%.
of thing? Because
Totally.
yeah. Oh,
Totally.
I love
Yeah.
that. Because
But
I'm
it's
the
not,
same. I
and
need to be doing something. The more I'm doing something with my hands, especially, the better
yeah,
I am at paying attention to you. If I look at you and stare at you,
totally.
I'm less likely to absorb what's saying.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening?
So I have
Yeah, okay.
like a silent drum pad and some drumsticks here. When I coach, I tap those, and
Yeah.
people don't really know I'm doing it. Often I just say that's what I'm doing. But when I'm tapping, or if I'm tapping that stick on my leg, I'm listening 100%. If I'm
Yeah.
not doing that, all I'm doing is trying to balance the listening with the urge to move. And so I just allow
Yes.
myself to move.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
what people do. And I can remember getting in trouble. Like I can
Yes, we got in
remember this
trouble.
is how
Sit
old
still,
I
sit
am.
still.
Well, exactly. But
Pay
in
attention. Look at the teacher.
people, managers calling out sort of doodling in a notebook in a meeting saying you're
Yeah.
not listening. It's like this is how I
This is
listen.
how I listen.
I just didn't know that's
100%.
how I listened. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So even then I thought I was, doing something wrong, not paying attention, but
Yeah.
actually I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I to switch gears for a minute, I read this beautiful quote on your website. Where difference lies the ability to make a difference.
Yep. That's one of my wee catchphrases. I love
Love
that
it.
because I think I talk about we live and work at the edges of the bell curve, and most workplace processes, in fact, most processes in society, they're all tailored or geared towards that sort of big beer belly, the middle of the bell curve. You know, that
Yeah.
one size fits most approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Us ADHDers, we sort of live and work at the edges of that bell curve, and that's where the difference is. And I think I totally believe in that we catchphrase where difference lies the ability to make a difference. Because when we're trying to be the same, we can only sort of look at a problem the same way as opposed to looking
Mm.
at it a little bit differently or come up with the same. Like we can't get out of that thinking. But if we allow
Mm.
for people who see a problem a little bit differently or understand a question a little bit differently and allow people to do that, we that's where innovation
Yes.
that's where innovation lies, right? Where
Yes.
we question things a little bit differently. And like there's this to get fancy, there's this area in like it's in biology called the neuritic. I think it's called the neuritic zone, but it's on the edges of continental shelves. It's on the edges of um, forests, where the forest meets the savanna. That's where the
Yeah.
greatest biodiversity is on those edges
Right. Yeah.
before stuff drops off into sort of the abyss
Yeah.
in the sea. But that's where the greatest diversity or biological diversity is. And the
Yeah.
same happens or exists in our teams where we get concentrations of difference on the edges of our teams. And what I mean by that is the things that people are hiding and don't necessarily want to show to people, but know that they're of value with them. Now, the thing with couple of things with us ADHD is we're absolutely rubbish at explaining ourselves or explaining how we drew the links between things. Yeah. And
Yes.
so our
Yes, because I feel
credibility
like our
drops.
brain goes too quick and it
Well, it
just,
does.
or
But also,
it just gets, it
well,
sees
it's
it
natural, right?
without it.
It just happens. We
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
patterns.
Yeah.
We've never had to explain them to
Yeah.
ourselves. And so we're not used to explaining them
Logically,
to
how
other
we
people.
got to that conclusion or, yeah, what have
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
But a lot of credibility professionally lies in your ability to explain how you got somewhere. And
Yeah.
that's where I always fell over. And
Mm.
we get really frustrated, and I'm sure your listeners are going to really resonate with this, is where we have an idea, we couldn't quite explain it, so it didn't get taken up. And then 3 months later, we go, I told you so.
Yeah.
And yet we kind of didn't tell them so because we didn't get to do that.
Yeah.
And so it's harnessing that difference that's really important for us. Because I work with a lot of teams where um, it's useful. A lot of team building is about where we converge, like where are our similarities, and that rubbish concept of recruiting for fit, which I just despise. But there's the convergence, but also where do we diverge, and
Yeah.
and what like what's that about, and how do we use that divergence? Because a lot of people in here think that where we don't agree or we see things differently, well, that's automatically going to cause conflict, and that's okay. It's how we handle conflict, and it's how we allow people to differ, which I think arises the opportunity for us to go, well, why don't we tweak this a little bit? Like, how about we stick with this base model, but then we do these little bits around the edges that Gavin or Julie suggested. Like, what
Mm.
might that look like? And just play with that. Because every innovation hasn't come from a perfectly formed idea. It's come from people looking at an existing idea a little bit differently. And we do that
We
naturally.
do
So,
that. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
allowing us to do that is super important.
That this actually reminds me, this conversation reminds me, I'm reading a book at the moment, and one of the things that I loved was when he talked about how absurdity sells.
Yeah.
And it went on to give these examples of, for example, there was a hotel, I think in Belgium or somewhere in Europe, and they installed beer, beer, I don't know, vats or some bloody thing, something that pumps beer out in the shower. So you
Huh.
take a shower, every single room in this hotel, and you can drink beer in the shower.
Okay.
And that place books out
Yeah.
and has just taken off and just skyrocketed
Right.
because of this weird point of difference it has. And it reminded me, my partner and I, we went to this hotel in Auckland a while back. They had a robot
Oh, yeah.
and it delivered shit to your room.
Yeah.
Like it was a robot. I think it was called Hari. And we went back again and we still talk about it and we
Yeah.
tell people to go stay there. And their rooms were pretty basic.
Yeah.
We didn't care. It had a robot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They also talked about how I think it was Tesla, and I don't know a lot about Teslas, but Teslas have all of these random features like karaoke built in. They've
Oh,
got
yeah.
Easter eggs where you have to find different features that have been hidden in your car. I was like, how fucking fun is that? Right? Like, and it talked about how they didn't like call their models comfort model or anything like that. They had these
No.
wild, wacky names.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that point of difference, that sort of absurdity does
Yeah.
really sell.
I
So
think
I think that ability to think outside the box is
yeah.
just so
I think the early
crucial.
Teslas had ludicrous mode. I think it was like
Yes, I think that was
just
one of them.
yeah, just madness. Like take off all the
Yeah.
safety and just go. Um,
Yeah.
the yeah, but I think that playfulness is really
Yes.
important, and that's really symptomatic of us. And I think
Yeah, we
that's what
bring
that
that.
where difference lies the ability to make a difference. Is
Yes.
how do we embrace that difference?
Yeah.
And actually, let's not even talk about the workplace. Like, how do you embrace that in your daily life? Like, what do you do? What do you do differently from other people, and and how do you love that? And I think that's what that
Mm.
self care and self love and our well being is about. Is stopping trying to end the almost endless fight of doing things common, normal, as usual sort of
Neurotypically,
stuff, and
whatever
just
it is.
go,
Yeah.
actually, I do some things very weirdly, but man, it suits me. And
Please give us
also,
an
why do I
example.
get trapped? Yeah, well, why do I get trapped in routines as well? Like I help people. The coaching I do helps people to to change big habits, but I'm rubbish at changing my own habits, and yet my day is anchored to a whole bunch of habits that set up my day. Like I have to go through my shower process the same way. I have to make my breakfast the same way every morning, and it's not super sort of uh, it's not regimented, but there's a flow to it. And if that flow gets disrupted, I kind of feel a bit put off. It's like when you forget
Yeah.
to wear your watch, you feel a wee bit naked.
Yes,
I feel
yes,
like that if I don't
yes.
make my, morning breakfast the same way
Mm,
every day.
mm, mm. I'm curious if we were to take it to a workplace setting for a minute, like in harnessing, say, specifically ADHD in the workplace,
Hmm.
what would that look like? How do we do that, do you think?
Um,
And I think that's a very broad question.
yeah,
Yeah.
very easily and with some intention and
Mm,
commitment from a whole bunch of people. It's actually harnessing ADHD is cultural, so it's not about processes. Yet it starts with processes. So it's like, how do we? What are the reasonable accommodations we can make for somebody to not give them a leg up, but to level the playing field? And essentially, that's all it is. It's just offering alternatives. Um, we have, here in New Zealand, we've got the Employment Relations Act. It's been around for a good 20 years. The key part to that is the word relations. So it's a relationship between,
mm,
the organisation and the employee, or the employer and the employee, or the manager and the staff member. And that's the key with harnessing ADHD is how do we enhance that relationship between those two individuals? Um, Notwithstanding that managers can have ADHD too, but often we think of it as being the staff member as being managed by a neurotypical leader, and but it's about how do we have a better relationship where both are curious, where we talk about, hey, I've noticed this, maybe in terms of your time management or your delivery of work, or the cadence of work and effort and energy in your day, and just talking about that. Now, the thing that we hate as ADHD is we're waiting for people to find us out, right? So when someone says, "Hey, can I have a chat about just some stuff I've noticed about your work pattern?" we shit ourselves.
yeah, I'm getting fired.
Yeah,
I've done
exactly. So
something
what we
wrong.
got to so what we got
Yeah.
to do in our workplaces is make, and this is where it becomes cultural, is make it really easy to have those conversations where we know
Mm,
that the request to have that wee chat comes from a place of kindness, comes from a place of, fuck, you're already here doing the work. We trust you. Like you're one of us.
mm,
How do we make that better for you? Because what we're doing is this ridiculous thing. We pay people 100% of their salary, and yet we allow people to not work at 100% of their capacity because of the way we set up that work environment, the way the culture of our place, the way the processes and practices we have, the behaviors, the stereotypical expectations we have, actually force some of us to turn up to work and hide parts of who we are and just restrict ourselves, or put a bit of a
mm,
glass ceiling on and go, actually,
mm.
I can't give too much away because they might figure out that I really struggle with navigating spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Even though I've made that look really normal, or like I'm coping for 4 years, but
When in
I've had
actual
to work
fact, I stay
extra
up till
hours.
midnight doing that. Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
right? And so, how do we just talk about that?
I think
Um,
curiosity is so useful. You mentioned that word
yeah.
early on, like when we're both curious,
Hmm.
like say we're the employee and then our team leader is curious, like, oh, I wonder why they keep turning up late. I
Yeah.
wonder why, they struggle with putting that into words or into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation, with that
Totally.
curiosity, I think is so useful. Like,
curiosity in what
and
you're noticing and then talking about it, because there's
yeah,
no point noticing stuff and not doing anything with it. And
yeah,
it's how we raise that as well. And everybody's curious. Lots of people, I mean, we're amazing noticers. We notice things
mm. Oh
more
yeah,
than most, right? And so that helps us form a better relationship with, say, a neurotypical manager, if that's
yeah,
the dynamic there as well,
yeah,
is being able to talk about these are the things I've noticed, and this is how not only I think you could lead me better, but how I could be a better follower, if that's even a
mm,
thing. Because that's the
mm.
relationship, right? Like both people have some obligations in that and some responsibilities, and we need to sort of step into that. And I think that's what, like I've got on this mug, ADHD positive. That's what I refer to.
And you must get some pushback on that. I
I get
remember
it.
watching one of your webinar replays and somebody pushed on that, and I was like, "Ooh,
I get a lot of shit from it,
yeah,
or about it, but I refuse to sort of relent on that because some people think that I'm diminishing the plight of the struggles and frustrations people have with ADHD. I don't do that at all. Like I struggle with stuff day in and day out, the same sort of frustrations that I can't shake, but I refuse to beat myself up over those things as well. And I
yeah,
also know, and I do know this, that my ADHD gives me some abilities and some strengths in areas like the benefits of having my ADHD brain far outweigh the negatives.
mm,
Um, it is a shame that the label ADHD is negatively geared, like it's
mm,
deficit and disordered based.
yeah,
It's doesn't help it, like, and I get that that's out of the diagnosis process, comes out of where are people having some issues or some struggles, um, because we don't diagnose things that are positive in
mm,
psychiatry and
mm,
psychology. Like you don't, when you're thriving, you don't go to a psychiatrist,
mm,
right? It's when you're struggling with some things. And so all these things have come out of um, being sort of negative, yet that doesn't mean that the way our brains operate and the way we experience in the world doesn't have some benefits. Like
yeah,
I've got some really cool things I can do. You will
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Everybody who listens to this episode, to this whole podcast, who has ADHD, has some phenomenal
yeah,
abilities. Now the problem is because they come naturally to us, and we've been conditioned to believe that success comes from hard work. When we don't have to try, we don't value the things that we can
mm.
do. Like, and we also, again, can't explain them. People go, "How do you do that?" And go, "Oh, I don't know. I just
I
do
don't
it."
know, yeah,
Right? Yeah, exactly. And so
yeah,
and then that's actually us diminishing um, not only our value and our worth, but also what people see in us as
yes,
well. We're not giving
yes,
them the opportunity to go,
just brushing it off, yeah,
yeah, brushing
yeah,
it off and going, oh,
yeah,
shucks, it's nothing. Because
yeah,
it actually is nothing to us. It comes naturally, it's so easy. And but like again, using a spreadsheet example, I can't marry up rows and columns on a spreadsheet.
yeah,
Numbers that have like multiple of the same digits, I can't tell if there's two or four of them there, right?
mm,
And so people who can work with spreadsheets, I think are gods. I think they're
yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
right? And
ninjas,
and yet some of the things, like my ability to see people's energy and how they show up, I don't know how that works, but I can do
yes,
it.
yeah, you can read a
And that's a
room
benefit.
like no man's business, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that's also that coexisting sort of conditions that like people dyslexics are really high in empathy. That has
mm,
nothing to do with reading, writing, spelling, etc.
mm,
Um, but it's a fact. Dyslexics are really big empaths,
mm,
and we don't understand that. We don't give credit for that. But when you overlay dyslexia and ADHD, then there's some magic that can happen. But that
yes,
magic is different for each individual. I know Autism New Zealand believe that sort of around 80% of their members also have ADHD. So that coexistence there
yeah, yeah,
um, is quite high. It's not guaranteed, and but what that means is that people can have a different experience
yeah.
there as well, and that's the beauty of it. Like
I always say
we're
to
not
my
all the same.
partner, yeah, and I always say to my partner when he talks about some sort of normal thing, and I always say to him, you couldn't pay me enough money to be neurotypical. You couldn't pay
No.
me enough to take away my ADHD.
Oh God, no.
I don't want a neurotypical brain. I don't want to, whatever that is, whatever, I don't want that because
Hmm.
then I wouldn't be me. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have all of the fun things that make me who I am and
Yeah,
all of the unique points of difference that I have, I wouldn't have that.
yeah,
And I
I agree.
love that stuff.
Yeah, I
Like,
wouldn't give
do
up
I
my
still
ADHD.
struggle? Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some shit that's really, really hard for me? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the things that I do differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a like I think gets us into the conversation around medication, which is really useful, but it does help us fit into that neurotypical
Hmm.
world. And sometimes that pisses me off. I'm like, why should I have to fit in?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's kind of useful. It means, it dumbs down the noise, levels me out, and allows me
Yeah.
to then do the work I need to do to focus. But
But
I
I
don't
also
like it. I
respect the
don't like
people
who I am.
who sort of cycle it or choose not to use it all of the time
Yep.
because they don't like how it might dull their creativity or their way of
Hmm.
thinking and being in the world that, helps them to do what it is they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But then I
100%.
get that, especially when we're trying to fit into the 9 to 5 lifestyle of perhaps, working for somebody else or even myself. Like I take my medication most days because it does really help me to
Mm-hmm.
focus at work and get shit done.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I value both
I'm
sides of that.
I'm
Mm,
very choosy on it because it does dumb down my creativity. My kids notice
mm,
that
interesting.
a lot, but it also helps me to remember that I do have kids because some days, when they were younger, I forget to pick them up from someone's house or
Yes, yes.
and that's not out of a lack of love. That's just out of my interest. Focus was somewhere else. Like I was deep, I
Yeah,
was hyper focused
hyper
on something
focus.
else. Um, but also I don't use it in certain work that I do as well because
Oh, interesting.
when I do take it, I find it dumbs down my ability to sort of notice the little tweaks around the edges of an audience,
Okay.
etc. So when I speak at a conference, I don't take it. When I run workshops, I do.
Yeah,
When I'm coaching, I do as well on those days.
yeah,
So I actually set up my week so it allows me to have those sort of drug holidays, just
yeah.
not to take it on certain days, but to take it on others. And that's what I also love about um, methylphenidate. That I here we are saying I love drugs. What I love about it is it's in and out of your system.
Yes,
Like, yeah, and
yes.
that's so useful,
Yeah,
just super useful.
yeah. You can get it out quick. Yeah, yeah. One of the things we talked about when we caught up was making it safe to be different.
Hmm.
And that has stuck with me ever since our conversation because I think whether it be in a relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, or in the workplace, when we make it safe for somebody else to be different or other people
Hmm.
around us to be different, that I think is literally life changing, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I I agree, and I think that's what most like kids do that naturally, but I think it's what most adults want is
Mm,
to have their differences noticed and for our differences to be regarded as being all good,
yeah,
okay, just
accepted.
fine,
Oh,
right?
oh,
Not
sweet as. No
amazing, but
problem.
just
Yeah,
yeah, no
no
problem.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come and fit in. And that's why I
yeah,
think that a lot of this conversation, a lot of the work I do is marketed on harnessing neurodiversity, but actually it's about harnessing everybody's difference and the difference
yeah,
that they hide. So it doesn't
yeah.
matter if you're neurodiverse or neurotypical. Everybody does things a little bit differently. And what are those things? Because I think the that brings out the amazingness. It's also
Mm,
in a relationship, like it's our differences that people love. They're the things that are attracted to us. And I think as
I
ADHDers, we've tried to
agree.
hide those things and for so long, and yet they're the things that our friends and family and partners love about us that we don't think they notice, that we think we've done an amazing job at hiding. And it's
Yeah.
one of those, and I think that's evidenced by when you get diagnosed and you go, oh my God, I've just found out I've got ADHD. And all your friends go, well, of course you have. Like, they go, well, no
Oh, well, you
kidding.
could have said something. Thanks.
Yeah, I know. I know. We've gone, what? I've gone 44 fucking years
Yeah.
and you
You
people
think you
all
could have
knew
mentioned
this?
that earlier?
Yeah.
Right.
Because when we get to put a label on something or when we get to describe a difference, people go, yeah, I can totally see that. And that actually gives people permission to then talk about the stuff that they
Yeah.
like and love. And this is the safety.
Yes.
Um, at work where we talk about, like I have this really stupid but incredibly effective activity that I didn't make up, that lots of people do, and it's simply about how do you hang up your washing? Like, what are your preferences? So you've got a big load of washing, it's all the cardinal sins of laundry all in there. You've got coloureds, you've got whites, you've got sheets, you've
Okay.
got socks, undies, shirts, pants, everything, right? Massive washing machine, massive load, all done. You've got one of those rotary
Oh yeah,
clotheslines.
yeah, they were
You
fun as a
have a
kid.
bunch
Yeah.
of coloured pegs. You have
Yeah.
enough pegs for every single item, so you're not
Oh, but see,
resource.
I double up. Like I'll put like I'll clip one peg, like one t-shirt. So I'll put my t-shirt on the line, right? One peg either end. But then as
Gotcha.
I
So,
go grab the pair of shorts, I clip the start of the shorts on the end of the
yep,
t-shirt.
right. How do you
Some
hang the
people think
shorts
that's
up? By the
terrible.
leg or by the waist?
Oh, by the waist.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll do two pairs of socks. So I'll group the socks, right?
So
My
they're
two
in their
pink
pairs
socks are together and on one peg. So they're
at the
together.
ankle or the toe end.
Good question. Ankle.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Interesting. So it's these sort of details that when you go through this process, you see what people's preferences are.
Mm.
Yes, some neurodivergence comes out in this, but also what we tend to get is people repeating the way that their parents hung up washing as well, and some things that they've
I think
learned.
I do repeat
Um,
what my mum did. I
yeah,
don't think my
right.
dad ever hung up washing in his life.
Well, and these are all brilliant discussion points. And this is the thing, because not many people's job is to hang up washing, right? So it's removed from work. So it actually makes it a really safe
Yes,
topic
yes.
to
Or
talk
you could
about.
ask about the dishwasher because, man, I bet that would get some heated debates
That's
because
the
my
next one.
my
Oh,
partner
yeah.
loads it like a meth addict. Like there is no rhyme or reason, and I could fit twice as much in as he could.
Same. And ADHDers are amazing at stacking a dishwasher. We think that, or a
Right?
lot of people assume that we're chaotic in that, but actually, really, when you get that
Oh,
down, a down pat dishwasher pack is,
yeah.
holy
That's so
shit, that looks
satisfying.
sweet. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, right. I don't want to have to put all the things away necessarily, but man, I can load that.
So, question for you then, Zena. Are you a handles up or down in the dishwasher basket, the utensils basket?
Oh, so the stabby fork, the stabby knives go down, but
Hmm.
like forks are up.
Oh, why?
Teaspoons are down.
Wow.
I don't
So, you're going to
know.
grab, to
I
take
don't
the
know.
fork out, you're going to touch the bit you're going to throw in your mouth.
Valid. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm gonna have to rethink this plan because
Well,
that
no, no,
already
it's not right
I'm
or
not sure
wrong.
about. No, but I don't empty it. The kids do sometimes. So now I'm freaked out. What about the grubby little hands?
There you go. Right. All sorts of questions popping up from this. But that's really interesting that you put some handles up and some handles down. I
But
love that.
I love how different we all are in this. And
Yeah.
already I'm like questioning my life choices around the
Well, okay,
dishwasher.
so there's the
I'm
ripple
like,
effect
ooh,
of this. It's like, where do our patterns of behavior around how we hang up washing or stack the dishwasher, what are the ripples of that in terms of how that similar mindset or attitude or behavior or principles or values even sort of splay out into other areas of our life and work? So
and
this is why
who
it's useful.
decided what's the right way?
Yeah. And this is
Right?
the
There are
beauty, because
loads of
again,
right ways.
yes. And it's all, if it's all made up, that means we have permission to change some stuff. And this is where the
Yes.
safety comes in, to come back to your
Yes.
question, which I'm so stoked I managed to do,
Nailed
is
it.
that it's about, where do we do things differently and how do we make it safe to talk about those things? So the way to make it safe is to talk about something that's not related to the
Mm.
thing that we're actually talking about, and then go, okay, so if we took our mindset to stacking the dishwasher, how we individually do that in our team, and and what's important when we stack the dishwasher, and the principles and the values behind that, sort of our internal ethos, how do we take that to this task we now need to do as a team?
Mm.
And that's a fascinating conversation for teams to have that
I
nobody
bet.
has, but is really, really useful to then go, huh, okay, and it also helps break down barriers. So someone gets known
Yeah.
as the shit dishwasher stacker and whatever else. But so you can have some banter around that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So humor helps, but also it helps to be curious
Yeah.
and breaks down some barriers in order for it to be safe to talk about you know, Alex's weird way of going about presenting a report.
Mm.
Um, but it also talks about, it helps talk about the things that um, annoy us about our colleagues
Yes.
as well. It just makes it
And
easier
I think
because
helps
we
you
refuse to do
understand
that.
them a little bit better
Yeah,
and perhaps even appreciate maybe where they're coming from
yeah.
in in
And so,
certain
do you see
areas.
how a couple of ADHDers have just talked about some routine everyday things, but how we are the people who make talking about difference accessible, and yet that's the thing we
Yes.
have been sort of shitting ourselves over for decades.
Yeah.
It's like, when will, sooner or later people will find out that, I'm not as good at such and such as they think I might be. And we hide that, and we're scared of being found out, and yet we're the
Yeah.
people who help facilitate the finding out other people's edges. This is that hole where difference lies the ability to make a
Yeah.
difference. We're the people who
100%.
unlock that for everyone else.
Yeah. Wow. One of the things we talked about a little more at the beginning was like the fun, like the playfulness.
Uh-huh.
And I would love to come back to that because I think in a workplace, especially, we take things so seriously.
Yeah.
And yet we're the people who can bring the play, the fun.
Mm.
How do you think we
Absolutely.
get back to that?
Uh, I guess one of the caveats here is we we can't, like, ADHD is a reason, it's not an excuse. I couldn't turn up late to
100%.
this podcast recording and go, oh, it's my time blindness, so you can just wait for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're adults, we're mature, we're professional, we've got to be all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's a reason, not an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
However, I also think professionalism and being adult is often an excuse in itself. We can't be playful. We can't have fun at work because it's seen as being unproductive. And yet, I know the times when I was, an employee of an organization or some people, the times that I had fun unlocked amazing productivity because you
Yes,
can't you,
agreed.
you can't be on all the time, right? You've got to have a wee bit of
Agreed.
fun. And if we can mix, and often what we do is you go, okay, down tools, go and have some fun, then come back to the boring work. It's like if you could mix fun and work to be the same experience, then you're far more productive, but also you're engaged and you're satisfied and you're happy and you're into it. Like, it just makes absolute sense to make the actual work we're doing a bit more fun. And again, like we said right at the start, it's all made up. Like,
Yeah,
nothing about work is a natural process.
yeah.
The
Everything's
buildings
made
we're
up.
in, the
Yeah.
technology we're using, the ideas,
The
everything's
laws and rules we follow in society, all
it's
of
all
it.
been made up.
Yeah, yeah.
So play with that,
But
and I
one
think
of,
if you're a leader, like, give people permission to play with the rules as well.
yeah, I love the word play. I use that so much in my coaching. But I think even coming back to the word professionalism, I think that that's problematic, that word. Like
Yeah.
when I think of that, I associate that word with like having to wear a suit
Hmm.
and be very proper and I'm not allowed to swear and all of these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've played with the definition of, well, what is professionalism for me and what does that look like in
Yeah.
my role?
Yeah.
What do I want that to look like? I want to normalize difference. I want to normalize we're adults, we're allowed to swear, we're allowed to wear bright colors, we're allowed to wear cat t-shirts, with a suit jacket if you want,
Yeah.
like and make it be more playful in what professionalism looks like for me.
Mm.
Because I think again that the word like, oh, we've got to adult, we've got to be professional. I think that those are barriers to having fun in the workplace
Yeah.
and
100%
embracing
agree.
that.
And I think a
Yeah.
lot of people who are enforcing what professionalism looks like are really those people who just don't feel safe to play as
Yeah.
well. And so it's their own insecurities
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah.
Maybe, but it's
Yeah.
like, and granted, we've also got to be safe, right? So playfulness isn't about throwing bottles around a work site or it's
It does not
we
sound safe.
yeah, exactly. But you're allowed to have a bit of fun and a bit of
Mm,
banter and and I think banter's really important too. Like it's fascinating, and I find that really curious because it's like what we're when we're kind of just throwing lines back and forth, having a bit of a joke with people, we're figuring out where those boundaries are for each individual as well, and and if we're able to do that in a way that is safe and kind, and when we slip up, we fess up and go, look, I'm really sorry, that was clearly too far, which ADHD is, we do take things a bit too far every now and then and sort of get caught out, or we could just get too wrapped up in a
yeah.
situation and go too far. And
I also think we're quick to say something though. Oh my God, I didn't mean it like that. I had a
yeah,
situation just the other day at the gym. I
mhm,
was biking next to a woman, and this is maybe like my second or third session, and I don't know how the hell to use the display on this machine, and I'm trying so hard in my head to remember the instructions, and it
yeah,
was something like pedal for fast for 6 seconds every minute. And I'm just trying to remember that and like look at this dial anyway.
yeah.
And she looks over at me and she goes, wow, that's a really good number. And I was like, what number? And she goes, oh, the watts. That watts there, 675. She's like, that's really good. She said, I've only ever got to 625. And I went, oh, well, this really sucks. And I don't think she understood that I mean, not your number sucks that you've got to. I was like, pedaling this hard just to get that number sucks. Like this works, doing this workout sucks. And then she kind of went quiet and I registered, oh shit, I think I took that a little too far. I don't think she understood what I meant.
You go,
And so
oh, inside voice in
of
you.
course, I was like, oh, just to clarify, I didn't mean what you are doing sucks. I said, this workout sucks. Okay. And she's like, yeah,
Good
yeah, yeah,
on you.
you're all good. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, and like, if I was you, I would be dwelling on that for
Right. If
days,
I
going,
hadn't said
oh,
anything then, I
yeah,
knew, and we were
good for
just
you.
starting the workout. I
Yeah.
knew I wouldn't be able to let that go. I'd be like, oh God, she thinks I'm an idiot or I'm a horrible person or whatever. Like, so I had to say something.
That's a really important point. Like, actually just stepping up and going, look, I
Yeah.
just need to clarify this. That was not about
Yeah.
you. That was about me and about the work,
Yeah.
the workout.
That was about me struggling, my
Yeah.
legs hurting. It wasn't about you at all.
675 watts. Jeez.
Yeah. And then the next time, so we did it a few weeks later, I got to 70 or 769. 769. I've been writing the numbers down. My trainer's like, keep an eye on the numbers. He's like, you've got the strongest legs out of everyone. I was like, really? What does that mean?
Yeah.
This sucks
Good for
still.
you.
This sucks.
Yeah, true.
Oh. So I do want to come back to one last thing before I get you to tell everybody where to find you because they need to come and hang out with you. But we talked just very briefly about authenticity last time. And I'm
Hmm.
curious after that like little conversation that we had when we caught up, have you had any other thoughts around that? Because you talked about this vision you have of creating radically authentic workplaces.
Hmm.
And one of the things I said to you when we caught up, and we caught up like I think 20 minutes, maybe a couple of weeks back, is I said I really appreciate your authenticity. That was something that I
Mm.
loved about you. I just met you and I just loved that you radiate that. And I
Oh,
really feel a sense of like genuineness from you. And I remember you saying to me, how do you know that? And I was like, I don't know. I just do. Like, don't make me reverse engineer it, right?
yeah,
Which is
yeah,
something
yeah.
we've
And
talked
I
about.
can
I don't
remember
know how I
feeling
know
really
it. I
awkward.
just know it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I'm just curious if you've had any more thoughts since then or anything you wanted to add to that.
Oh, look, so much has happened since
Yeah,
since
I can't
then.
remember what
But
happened yesterday.
the, like authenticity is really important to me because I've never felt that's such a big statement. I've never felt safe to be authentic. That's not true. I show up as authentically as possible. I'm always worried that people won't take me the way hope they will.
Mm,
Um, and so, and I think also the workplace is the perfect sort of petri dish or experimental lab that we can play with these sorts of things. And we spend so much of our lives at work. Doesn't matter how many hours or where you work or how many workplaces you work at. We spend a large chunk of our life at work or in work. And so it's got to feel like we are of value, being valued, offer value, all this sort of good fluffy stuff. But that's really important, and the only way to do that is if we get to show up authentically and to be our authentic selves. And I have I've struggled a lot with that personally, but I've also not struggled to be authentic because I think it's easier to be myself than it is to hide and mask and all that sort of thing. And yeah,
Mm.
I've built up a bunch of habits which are about masking who I am and how I show up. But I think I probably show up, as you've identified, more authentically me than I think I do.
Yeah.
Um, and also, there's a slight element of, well, when we're used to masking who we are, and you finally get diagnosed, and which is partly some permission to then go, I don't actually have to hide as much of myself anymore.
Yes.
Um, what I did, and I know a lot of people with ADHD that I talk to also did or do, is go, well, actually, who the hell am I? Like, who am I
Yes. Yeah.
without my
I see that all
ADHD
the
mask
time.
on? And the thing is, well, you are yourself, and part of the part of the hiding who you are from time to time, but not all the time, is actually a characteristic. It's a personality trait, and it's a great thing. We're good masters of disguise, but also the flip side of that, and that's the ADHD positivity side, is that means that we can mold ourselves to be who and how other people need us to be. So, and I don't mean to be to pretend or to be fraudulent or anything like that. But if people need us to be a bit more compassionate, we can do that. If people need us
Yes.
to be a bit more energetic, we can do that.
Yes.
It is a wee bit
It's a
temporary, but
useful
we can
skill
turn
to
it on.
have. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that there's an element of authenticity in that as well. I think the other part, which you probably noticed when we first chatted, is there's so much of life that I just don't give a shit about. Like I've just had to let go of trying to be this good little boy that I always wanted to be in primary
Yeah.
school and in high school, and just to to fit in. That doesn't mean that I'm reckless. That doesn't mean that I'm mean. It doesn't mean that I'm unreliable or even unprofessional. Well, maybe sometimes I am, but I don't care
Yeah.
because again, coming back to the tiny pools example, people either love me or I'm not for them, and
Mm.
that's okay because that
Mm.
saves us a whole bunch of work.
Right.
Trying to convince you that I'm for you when actually I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
And I think also when it comes back to that sort of radically authentic workplaces is nobody says we have to be friends with everybody in the workplace.
Right.
And that's not saying actually I hate you, I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with you. It's just going,
But I love
how
to
about we
remind
just
people like you
work?
don't like everybody, so you don't want everybody to like you, right?
Well, that's a lot of work trying to
Yeah,
manage all those
yeah, it's a
relationships.
lot of peopling. Like I'm not here
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
But
One
also, I mean, I think we struggle with that as ADHDers as well, is going, oh, actually, I don't like everybody, but God, I want everyone to like me.
yes.
And
Oh, don't get
that's
me wrong.
unreasonable.
Like, yeah. Yeah. I have to coach myself through that quite often. I think like I've reflected a little bit on this authenticity conversation, and I think that authenticity requires two things.
Hmm.
It requires self safety. So,
Hmm.
safety from yourself to be yourself and to have a safe place to land if and when that's not necessarily well received, because
Mm.
again, not everybody's going to like you.
Hmm.
And also, it requires, I think, the safety of our our environment, shall we say,
Yeah.
to be ourselves.
Mm. Mm.
And there may be some environments you choose not to put yourself in
Yep.
because it
Yeah.
it limits your ability to be authentic or to feel safe.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. And I think that plays to our almost natural ability to, like, we can just sniff stuff out. Like, we have a
Yes.
hunch, gut
You
feel,
sniff out
like
bullshit so good.
100%. And don't we get disappointed when we don't trust our gut? We go,
Yes.
I should have done that. I
Should
should,
have
or I
listened.
shouldn't have done that, or
Yeah.
whatever else. And it's like we know, we have a knowing.
Mm,
We're amazing, like, intuitive creatures, us
yeah.
ADHDers,
Yeah.
and we should back ourselves with that as well, and go, actually, just no, they're not
Yes.
my people, or these are my people. Like, uh, and I'm a bit nervous about approaching them, but fuck, I just know this, so let's give it a
Yeah.
crack.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tell everybody, Callum, tell everybody where they can find you if they're interested in hanging out with you, working with you, connecting with you. Tell us all the things.
Cool. Well, I don't have many sort of social media accounts. I do LinkedIn because that's useful. So you
Cool.
can find me there, Callum McKirdy. I've also got a website, which handily is just my name, callummccurdy.com. I'm always up, like, you easily contact me through there. I'm always up for a chat. I love, um, I do love coaching and workshops and conferences, but I guess the main thing of what I do is I help people see their own value, and
Mm,
that's individual, and that's really nourishing for both me and that person as well. So I get
mm.
a lot out of that. But look, I no longer do a newsletter. I think we just get inundated with stuff in inboxes. And so I just prefer if people just get in touch over email through my site, callummccurdy.com, or LinkedIn. Happy
Cool.
to have a chat and
Yeah.
just go from there, because,
Wonderful. Yeah.
and I
I'll
think
link
fit's
all of
really
that too.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll link it
Just
in the
if
show
we
notes.
gel, if I'm for you, then let's do some stuff. But if not, hey, that's cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on the podcast and sharing with us. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad we
My
did
pleasure.
this.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the invite. It's been lovely chatting.
Hey friend, if you want some more help navigating and thriving with ADHD and some help applying everything that you're learning here on the podcast, then head over to our website, navigatingadultadhd.com.